This is a Glassbox Media podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to My Worst Date. I'm Cassie.
I'm Keegan.
I'm Christina.
And Christina, you shared some news with us that I didn't know.
Yeah.
I think it's important that we talk about it because it is a lifestyle I'm into.
Yeah.
Jason Momoa
Yep.
now lives in a van.
Down by the river.
Well, it's parked in his friend's driveway, and to be fair,
Wait, it went from sounding cool until immediately you said his friend's driveway, and now I'm like, I'm out.
It is also a $750,000 van. So
Did you know that's my mom's like life dream?
Me
that's
too.
my mom's life dream.
That's my life dream
is
to get a van. Yes,
to get a van.
Not a van.
Van
I
life.
want like an RV. So my dream is to, when I retire, I don't want like a big house or anything. I want an RV that I can park different places in the U.S. and I have the ability to travel. Like I'm not tied
That's my
to
mom's
it.
dream.
That is my dream.
That my mom wanted to do that before my dad got sick. That is what they were going to do. They were going to sell their house. They wanted to do it and be able to just travel around. And
I know that van life has become kind of a like something that we like laugh about now because it's just like, oh, like people like Jason Momoa, it's just like cosplaying at being homeless. You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, I don't know about that. But it is so his vibe. Like I'm like, that's totally his vibe. And I also totally understand it. It's like not Jason Momoa, but for other people, it's like moving away from the idea that like we need to own property
Things and property.
Yes, I agree.
I 100% am on board with that shit.
Didn't Matthew McConaughey used to do that too in an
Also
Airstream?
vibes.
His vibe,
Also
for
vibes.
sure.
Yeah.
I have a friend who is pretty big in the van life world, Instagram and whatnot. And she posted something not that long ago and was just talking about like van meetups. And she was like, it was really lonely at first, like when you're first on the road, especially when you're by yourself. Like I was like, I never even thought about that. I just kind of thought, oh, you're living your life. Like you go, you see things. And I'm like, I can imagine how lonely it actually could be unless you were like meeting up with people because you really are.
But kind of being alone, maybe it's just the place I'm at this moment where I'm like, that actually seems
You're like dream come true.
nice. Like just because lately, listen, I am in so many group chats.
Oh God, girl.
I get like right now we're casting a show. I'm in literally 4 different group chats about this show.
Oof.
We've got like our friend group chat, our other friend group chat, our other friend group chat, our podcast chat with Thomas. We've got like so many. I'm getting like 200.
You put your phone down for a second, and then you're like, "How did I miss 214 messages?"
Honestly.
100%. I'm getting like 300 texts a day. I'm getting like 200 emails a day. Like I'm like, I would love to just get in a van by myself.
You think your phone won't go with you?
Listen, I'm not answering anybody. I'm not talking to anybody.
I think
like give me like just a week of like I don't want anybody calling me for any reason.
Normalize not being able to reach somebody 24/7. Can we do that?
Yes.
Because I get those moods too where I feel sapped and drained, and I honestly turn my phone off.
Yeah.
So that I can't see it ding me. I can't see it like because I start to get anxious. I get anxiety.
So do I. Yeah.
And I feel like I have to respond and I might not be in the right headspace to do it. So
you have to tell people that you're going off grid because like I left my phone charging in the other room the other day and Anthony is out of town and he was texting me and seriously after like 3 texts he was like, did your phone die? Like that's the text that I got. He's like, did your phone die? And I was like, it's only been like an hour and a half.
Right.
You know, but it's because we do, and that's not his fault. It's just like we do have this like immediacy culture where it's like you're reachable at all times. So like for me, almost the idea of like not being totally reachable and kind of, and also
It's like when we went on a cruise.
yeah, and
That was actually really nice. You're like, you can't because
but
it's
also
not
for me,
available.
the idea of solo travel has been something that like I've really wanted to do for a while now. Anyway, like I'm just like I just kind of want to travel by myself because there is this like freedom in being able to kind of like experience whatever you're experiencing exactly the way you want to experience it.
Oh my God, that frightens the shit out of me. Which is funny because I am the person who used to travel alone all the time.
Right.
Yeah. You'd think that'd be like, yeah, whatever, no big deal. I enjoyed traveling, but being alone is not my strong suit. I'm a people person. I need people. I need to be needed. I need people's.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
People.
I want to come back to people. I want to come back to people, but I would never like into the wild, like long term, you know what I mean? But I would love to do it for just like a second.
You're not Appalachian trailing yourself.
Absolutely not. Like, no, I'm not like doing Reese Witherspoon in Wild kind of like situation, but I would do Julia Roberts and Eat, Pray, Love situation.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. There is a huge difference, and that's my speed too.
Right?
I'm like solo trip to Italy where I just like sit in a cafe,
Eat gelato on a
and
bench.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
sounds great.
It's
Hiking.
lonely though. Like,
Oh no. Oh my God, dude.
I love my company.
Love being with myself. I am awesome to be around. Just myself. That's why when we were talking about Anthony not being able to hear the voice in his head, I'm like, how do you entertain yourself? I'm talking to myself all the time.
I am appalled by this. Like literally, I don't know how it came up. We were watching The Sopranos and like I paused it and we did not resume watching for like an hour because I was like, I'm sorry. I knew these people existed, like the people who don't have an inner monologue. In fact, like we talked about it in our Facebook group when I was still on Facebook.
Right.
About that. And there are some worsties who don't have an internal dialogue, but Anthony doesn't. And I didn't
it's
know
hard to
that.
comprehend it if you.
Yeah.
Probably same way for him. It's probably hard for him to comprehend what the hell we're even talking about.
I've been reading so much lately, just like reading books so much lately that I'm like, that's the thing that really gets me. Like, of course, not hearing the voice in your head is a big thing, but I'm also like, how do you absorb information?
Yeah.
Because like when I read, I hear my voice reading in my head. So it's like an audiobook almost. It's like you hear it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, how do you read?
How do you read? No,
funny?
I have the same thing, and like just like I think too, it's easier for people like that maybe to get to sleep.
100%. That's why he knocks out immediately.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's
I'm like,
so
my
true.
voice keeps me up.
Yes.
Like talking
Yes.
to me
Yeah.
in my head, which sounds,
Well, question: do people like that not get anxiety then? Because if you don't have somebody telling you, like if you don't have your thoughts telling you things
I think
to be anxious.
their thoughts just manifest in a different way.
And I think
That's
that's
interesting.
I think maybe they're more feeling oriented than thought oriented because like Anthony gets like really bad like I don't want to say stage fright, but like before a show, he gets anxious, like very anxious, like gonna throw up kind of like anxious before we go on stage. I don't get that way. But like that's definitely so I mean he doesn't obviously have like the voice in his head being like you're gonna fuck up, but like clearly he's got that feeling.
He's got it's got to be a different way of manifesting. Interesting.
It's fascinating. It really like this subject comes up for me like every couple of months. Like I think about it like every couple of months.
Yeah.
And
Every couple of months, your brain's like,
You know?
hey, you remember that some people can't hear this?
yeah. Hey,
And you're like, wait,
hey.
what?
Well, I know you also brought up something, Cassie, before we started recording, and I'm always down to talk about porn.
Yeah. Well, we're always about that here, especially, and I think especially this story came to light because it really does tend to fall into our value system and how we feel about porn itself and about how, how important it is to pay for it, how important it is to support people who are in the sex trades. And this one was kind of interesting because it's a BuzzFeed article that was basically like porn site goes viral on TikTok for showcasing their conversations around consent before filming. And it's this German-based porn company called Erstes. And they literally are showcasing them sitting around kind of like in a circle and just talking about consent. And like, you know, if at any time you don't feel comfortable, it is always your, you know,
prerogative.
Right. Your prerogative, your right to say, this isn't working for me. I'm not into this. You know, like it has to feel, you know, I can imagine a company though in which you feel like you're heard. I mean, because that can't be a situation for many porn productions.
I feel like we've talked about it on the podcast before, like my aversion to Pornhub and how much like it's exploitative. Like I can't use it to get off because it feels so much like there's too many people in bad situations on that site. And so I pay a Spanish porn producer to make porn. I'm fancy like that, but
bougie. Wow,
bougie. Yeah. And but yeah, it's good to see there are conversation or better places for you to get porn. And I mean, we've all been with the guy that watches too much porn and like done exploitatively and thinks that that's good to do with you.
I feel like a lot of, also, this is kind of a different side conversation. I feel like a lot of the fun has been taken out of porn, like modern porn, contemporary porn. Like I remember
it's violent, right?
Yeah. I mean, and also just like, and look, Cassie and I have talked about this. Like, we don't need a storyline.
Oh,
right?
I love a
you
storyline.
love a storyline. However, what I will say
like,
is
fast forward.
Back in the days, same. I'm the same way.
Skip.
However, like back in the days when like there were like big name like porn stars.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Like, yeah, where they had like storylines and spoofs. It was like, oh, this is on a pirate ship, you know?
Exactly.
And so I feel like a lot of like the fun has been stripped. It's been stripped down to like, we're in late stage capitalism. Not that we need to have that conversation, but like it's been stripped down to like the barest of like bones,
just banging.
You
click on a clip and it's literally like somebody just like
in a hotel room
going to town, and you're like, this is. How did we get here? We're like,
I guess different strokes for different folks because that's way more my speed.
I mean, it's more my speed as well. I just think that it's also like it's indicative of a bigger issue, which is just that like it's all about producing content as quickly as possible with a complete disregard for safety, for comfort, for like anything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's all I mean. Because I too, I don't want to watch a 2-hour epic.
No,
you know, like
no.
But
about the milkmaid.
I don't need a 2-hour epic, but I also think part of what makes like starting like a clip like in the middle of an act makes it feel like I don't know how we got there. I don't know if both people wanted it. You know what I mean?
Got it.
Like
you get in your head about it.
I get in my head about it.
Sure.
Where I'm just like, at least show me like the beginning that people were like, yeah, let's fuck, and then you know, but yeah,
it was just the pizza guy knocking on the door, and she was like, I'm feeling it, and he was like, well, why not?
I'm here.
And there we go. That's all we need.
Yeah, that's all you need. I don't need that. I actually prefer not to know that. I don't want to know your origin story. I do not want to know how you know each other. I don't want to know that you're like his stepmom. I don't want to know any of that shit.
Definitely don't.
I definitely don't want to know any of that shit. I just want to know that there's two hot people or more or multiple people banging it out.
Listen,
I'm gotten to a place now where I'm actually.
You're like, I got 5 minutes between.
Listen, it's always shocking to me what I find hot at any given time.
Right.
I'm always surprised.
New kink unlocked. Yeah.
That
happens sometimes. It's true.
Where I was literally watching something the other day, and I love a good threesome, and I love good DP.
Right.
But not on myself. I want to watch somebody else enjoy that for sure.
Yeah.
And I also want to see for me, it's important that they're enjoying it.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I don't mind rough sex. I don't mind the 50 Shades of Grey kind of scenario. What I do mind is when you see them visibly upset, where like maybe they're crying or something. That I'm like, that doesn't look enjoyable. You actually look like that's painful, and that doesn't. That bothers me.
Yeah.
That bothers me. And I know that's probably part of an act in which that is somebody's kink. That It's just
could
not
be,
mine.
Could be, but it's just like, I think that there's listen, you're going to buy organic apples from the grocery store, buy organic porn. Like, honestly.
Farm fresh
porn. You love to see it.
You do. You do. Well, we've got a lot on our businessy corner today. We've got new patrons. We've got FMK suggestions.
Love it.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Please keep writing us in. There's somebody that wrote us an email too about this Hinge voice prompt. Please keep sending that shit. I am entertained by that all day.
Amazing.
I haven't heard anything about this.
Listen, so Hinge a while back put a feature, and I think that
we did talk about
for
this.
you. Yeah. Yes. That they put a feature where you can now leave like voice messages instead of like typing out your answers. First of all, part of me, my first thing was like, who thought this was a good idea?
Oh my gosh.
However, after having listened to some of them, I'm like, genius idea.
Yeah.
Because like half of these people I know immediately.
That's right.
Is a hard pass.
Oh, I'd be more than half. And I talked about it before on the podcast. I was like, I wanted to get people on the phone call because I feel your voice is so personal to who you are that like I would be able to tell on the phone. I'm like, we're not going to be able to get along.
Yeah,
I don't like the
some
sound
of these
this
people
voice.
have voices that I'm just like I know you can't tell a serial killer by their voice, but like that sounds like no like affect. I'm just like I'm terrified. No, thank you. Okay, so we do have some new patrons, so I want to give a big thank you to Angelique Barton for joining us on Patreon, and also to Jen Mulinex.
Yeah.
For joining us as well. And Jen actually took our advice from last week and paid for the entire year, which, as we said last week, you save a few bucks when you do it that way, if you know you want to hang out with us long term. So thank you so much. And we'll be getting your rewards out to you very, very shortly. And one of those rewards is that we bump up your FMK suggestions, your Would You Rather suggestions right up to the top of our list. So we did get a FMK suggestion this week.
Okay.
So hold on.
Love it. Love it. I love a good suggestion.
Me too.
I'm here for it. Buckled in.
Sarah Bickford, who was a new patron last week, who we shouted out. She is from Manchester, England.
Ooh.
Love it. And she said, I would love to hear you guys do an FMK on the Captain America Holy Trinity that is Chris Evans, Sebastian Stan, and Anthony Mackie.
Wow.
Okay.
Hot.
Well, now are we
for
doing
any
actors? Or are we doing their? Because if we're doing their version of Captain America, I'm not quite sure I know the other.
Well, I can do a soft explanation on a who's who. Right, so you have Chris Evans, which is your original, right?
Yeah.
You have Stan,
Bucky, right?
Is Bucky, right?
He's got a dark side.
Full disclosure, I don't watch the Marvel movies. Like I've seen the first Captain America, I've seen them like here and there, but I don't know the like
origin story.
Yes, like I know I've seen Anthony Mackie, but I don't.
And he is Falcon, right? So originally he's Falcon. Originally you have Bucky. At some point within their origin or within the story time frame, they all do become Captain America. They pick up that mantle.
So I've got two different answers because I know what I would do as their characters and what I would do with those actors because it's different.
Yeah, I'm going to do characters. I think that's the correct answer. Well, 'cause it specifically said Captain America.
I mean, I just don't know that my answer is going to be like super accurate, but I will do my best.
Okay. I'm going to kill the original Captain America. First of all, like he holier than thou, like super like rigid, black and white, like I just that's not
good v
he's
evil.
very, very 1940s.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I mean,
and I'm like,
exactly.
yeah. I'm
Yes.
like, no, that's not gonna work for me. And so that just right off the bat was an easy one. I'm gonna marry Anthony Mackie's Captain America.
Okay.
Because he's the one, he's got a strong moral character, but he's more flexible, more modern.
Yes.
And just super good dude. He looks like he has a sense of humor and stuff too. So
yeah,
I'm gonna go for that. And then obviously the Sebastian Stan, Captain America, is kind of like has a really bit of the dark side, bad boy energy. I think would be really good in bed. So if we were gonna do actors, I'd marry Sebastian Stan because
yeah,
hot. Yeah, but I'm gonna do the exact same thing. That's exactly what I was thinking. It's like, first of all, Chris Evans, we fucking love him. Like, hot.
Stan him as an actor.
So hot. And also, Black women on TikTok lose their fucking minds.
That's one of my favorite things.
It's like, favorite. Chris Jamal Evans, people love him. Like, okay, he has an honorary. Yeah.
Did you just say Chris Jamal? I love it.
So, I mean, I do love
him and the Lizzo shit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I fucking love Chris Evans.
Yes.
It's nothing personal. It's just that his Captain America is very like white picket fence in a way that like I'm not loving, I'm just like, it's exhausting to be that good all the time, like, so just because of that, I'm going to have to just set him aside.
There's sometimes like people like that are like so good, makes me want to be like,
you're gonna steal like nail polish in the store just to.
I kind of feel that way about the Anthony Mackie version too.
Really,
a little bit.
I just really like if someone's too nice. Sometimes it makes me like angry. Is that weird?
No, it's the same. I feel the same way because it's fake to me. It's fake. Nobody can be that.
Nobody's
nice.
Not that.
Nobody's
nice.
that nice. So to me, it's immediately
so
phony.
Angry.
Yep.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I end up doing something like bad just because I'm pissing me off. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm gonna do that, and then I am going to. Anthony Mackie just seems very like
stable
Mabel. Yeah, like he seems like he would be a good of the two. Like he seems like he would be a good husband, but not in the way that's going to annoy me like Chris Evans. You know what I mean? Like whereas like Bucky, I'm like we're going to end up in therapy like at some point. You know?
He's got a past. He's got a
you're going to wake up screaming, and I'm like I need my sleep, so I cannot marry you. So I'm gonna but a night with him.
Ooh,
whoa,
yeah,
whoa,
yeah,
whoa. So yes. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to do that.
Yeah. You changed my mind and then changed it back again.
All right.
All through that. So here's what I'm going to do. I as well am going to get rid of the original. Mm-hmm. And the reason being is less to do with, I actually don't think that he's Mr. Good Pants. I do think that his moral compass is definitely skewed from the 40s. However, I think that he is a little bit less rigid than you guys see him, only because I've seen the movies. And I do see him as somebody who's like, I follow the rules until I can't. And that doesn't make sense for everyone for me to not. So I do find that he is a little less rigid than, to me, the Falcon character or Anthony Mackie's character, who I think tends to be a little bit more straight edged and a little bit more rigid. That's just my personal opinion.
I mean, you would know.
However, I have to get rid of the Chris Evans character because that motherfucker just cannot get over his ex. Bitch, it is a different decade.
Move it along.
I know. What do you think? She's going to come back from the 40s? Like, I mean, God, digging up bones. Am I right?
Oh, God, you're going to find him crying over a picture of her. You're like, oh, this bitch is haunting our life.
Exactly.
No.
So I actually am going to fuck Anthony Mackie. Sorry. And the reason is because I do think that he's going to be good in bed, but I don't think I can marry him because I feel like he's married to his job a little bit.
Oh, sure.
Ooh, okay.
And I can't ever be second place, where Bucky is never going to put that fucking dumbass job above anything that he doesn't want to do. If he wants to come home and fuck my brains out, he's going to come home and fuck my brains out.
He's
and
like,
let the world do whatever the world's going to
burn.
fucking do. You know what I mean? Yep. And I like that Bucky's a bad guy, and I don't mind waking up to screaming in bed. I might laugh accidentally because I'm like, what the fuck was that? But that's also my attitude. in general. So I think it would work out. I think we would.
All right.
I think we would work out.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. There we go.
Oh, well, that was a delight.
Yes, please. More patrons, send in your FMK suggestions. It's so fun to hear what you guys want us to choose between. So
Love it.
yeah, you guys want to take 5 and we'll come back with stories?
That sounds
Yeah.
good.
And we're back. All right, see, kick us off with stories.
Okay, so mine is a listener story. And she says, hello, ladies. Before I share my little story, I wanted to say that I love listening to the podcast and have been listening since you started.
Whoa.
Wow.
I know. She is
Welcome,
OG.
but not welcome.
I would listen to all the episodes during my commute to and from work. Now that I'm caught up from a year's worth of backlog due to the pandemic, I find myself searching for other podcasts to listen to until the next one is released, but none of them compare.
Oh, I feel like we should shout out some of our favorites.
Yes.
I think it's so important to shout out a couple that have stood beside us as well. I think Keep It Weird.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That you might be interested in. And of course, you know that we love Boobies and Newbies.
Sparked my interest.
Sparked my interest. There's yeah.
And Florida Men on
Florida Men.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a fun one too.
Oh, movies that made us gay.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my story. During undergrad, I found myself on Plenty of Fish. I know POF is terrible, but there weren't too many dating apps
Does it
at
still
that
exist?
time. Yes, they've rebranded it.
Wow.
So it was slim pickings. I matched with this guy. He was attractive and able to hold a conversation. I don't recall how long we exchanged messages, but one early evening after chatting for a bit, he asked if I wanted to go see a movie with him. I know movies aren't ideal first date meeting, but I liked the movies and was probably bored, so I agreed. And we set up a time for him to come pick me up. I didn't want to dress up too much since we'd be in the dark, but I put in a little effort with some nice jeans, a cute sweater, and some flats. It didn't take long for him to arrive at my apartment. I opened the door to step into his car, and then it hit me like a brick wall.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
This person had been ripping ass on the drive over.
Oh. You gotta air that bitch out. You gotta roll those windows down and take a spin.
Dude, when I read this sentence, I immediately thought of and it broke into my mind like one of those like fever dreams kind of thing. So back when I worked for the theater company, you know, we had like this big changing room, dressing room that everybody was in. And there was one guy that would get bubble guts sometimes.
Oh,
and
no.
literally he would fart and it would be silent, but it stunk
Those are the
so
worst
bad
ones.
that it would seep into the costume. And you smell it for the I mean, the most rank. And they stayed in the costumes until you washed them.
That's disgusting.
That is.
Oh my God.
Those are oil-based farts. I think.
I'm sickened.
Young's Living Oil. Oh my God.
Oh God.
Either
I gotta say it because you always call it Young's Living Oil, like it's like something that I sell out of the back of my fucking trunk. You know that Young's Living Oil.
Is it?
It's like Young Living.
Young living.
Young Living.
Oh.
And I'm sorry, it just makes me laugh every time I think about it because it sounds like step right up. We got the Young's Living Oil.
It basically is that. I mean,
it is.
honestly, but
It is basically literal.
still that. It's oil based. Oh my God.
Not COVID.
Either he was so nose blind to his own stench or he did not care in the slightest. He didn't even try to hide it by rolling the windows down to air it out because it was fresh.
Meanwhile, you're suffocating. Like actually suffocating.
I pretended not to notice and suffered in silence. Side note, I sometimes think about this. I wish I had more lady balls to nope out of there. Oh, Tani, like,
Yeah, that's a
you're
tough
you're
situation.
driving along. What are you gonna do? I don't know if I'd be able to really be
Also,
like, your
there-
car smells like shit, brah. Like, you know,
Exactly.
It's a really tough.
My dumbass would open the door and be like, "What the fuck is that?" My mouth opens and shit falls out immediately, and then I'm like, "Oh fuck!" So I would have ruined the date instantly.
Just wait. On the short drive to the movie theater, we made small talk, and I happened to notice he was wearing sweatpants. I figured since it was the movies, he didn't want to dress up too much. Once we arrived and started walking toward the entrance, I saw him in his entirety. He was a bit different looking than his pictures. His sweatshirt and sweatpants had mystery stains on them.
No.
And lastly, he was wearing socks and slides.
Okay. Well, we know that I've committed this sin for sure.
But not in public. Not on a first date.
He paid for the tickets, and I offered to buy snacks. He said he was good. So I bought myself some nachos and Sour Patch Kids, my movie watching essentials. What are you guys' movie watching snacks?
It's Sour Patch Kids for me too.
Yeah.
Eric loves those too.
I think Reese's Pieces. So I have moods, right? Like I have either the peanut M&M or the Sour Patch Kid for sure is always in the roster somewhere. Skittles is in the roster somewhere. Like I have my weird Reese's Pieces, one of those things. Popcorn has also like super buttery popcorn.
Super. Yes, like disgusting. Like you would never eat at home, but for some reason you're like, this is fine when you're at the movies. Yeah, it's
and
Sour
it's not
Patch
even
Kids.
Like real butter, right?
No, it's like it's oil.
It's oil.
It's oil based. Oh my god.
So yeah, popcorn, Sour Patch Kids, and then if I'm feeling like I really want to relive my childhood, maybe get like a cherry icy.
Ooh, bitch, you fancy. Okay.
As we sat down waiting for the trailers and the movie to start, we began talking for a bit. The entire time we were talking, he seemed visibly uncomfortable. Once the trailers started, he excused himself to the men's room.
Oh no.
Not thinking anything of it, I carried on with my snacks and watched the trailers. About 10 minutes into the movie, he comes back and sits next to me.
Sweating.
You could tell he absolutely destroyed the men's room because it lingered on his
What did you eat? What did you eat? Oh,
I tried leaning opposite of him on the armrest to give myself some breathing space. Whatever was inside him was not done with him. I could hear his insides gurgling on and off over the sound of the movie.
Look, I'm a people pleaser, and there are few things that would make me just get up and leave.
Yes,
but I'm like,
I have to run to the restroom.
Really feel like
I mean, an Uber.
I would hardcore ghost this person. I'm sorry.
He excused himself again. It wasn't until I realized the movie was almost over that he hadn't come back. I didn't think much of it because I enjoyed the movie.
Oh no.
Thankfully, I didn't live too far from the movie theater, so I rang up a friend and got a ride home. No. I didn't bother to reach out to him to ask what happened because I think we both knew he had a bad case of the bubbleguts.
Oh my God.
Some days later, he messaged me and acted as if nothing had happened.
No.
Sir. Wrong number.
There is a 900-pound shit in the room that we have to address. I would respond back here and there, but wasn't making any effort on my end to show I was particularly interested in him. He asked to see me again, to which I replied, "We'll see." I promptly deleted my Plenty of Fish profile and have never been on POF ever again. P.S. I know I essentially ghosted this guy and know that I don't like being ghosted as well. I've since grown a pair of lady balls and don't allow myself to stay in situations that I'm just not vibing with. Nor do I have any problems now telling guys straightforward that I'm no longer interested.
There you go.
But yeah, no.
I mean, but to be honest, he left her.
Yeah,
exactly. He ghosted on her.
That's right.
Which I get.
Yeah, no, listen. I think we have to address ghosting.
To contact.
We have to address ghosting as like, it's not ideal, but also too, sometimes we have to address the fact that ghosting is the safest option for some people.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it has to be said. I know that we have talked a lot on the show about like how awful ghosting is. And it does. It fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Especially when you can't address or understand the reasons why, whether you're a guy or a girl. But sometimes it feels like the safest option for you. And it maybe has nothing to do with the person you ghosted so much as just the personal feelings and situations that person has experienced on their own, you know?
Correct. Yeah, and I also want to say I am joking.
Of course.
Like I wouldn't just get up and like leave
I'm
somebody,
not joking.
you know, without telling. I mean, I would if I felt unsafe. In this situation, I don't think she felt unsafe. She was just
like
grossed out. Yeah. You know, which you know me,
that's a deal breaker for you. Are you kidding?
Out of all three of us, like honestly, like
one who will laugh at you like your brother. I'm like, dude,
smelling someone else's farts. You're eating nachos. It's getting
in your mouth.
You're
eating that.
I have to say that sometimes I'm really impressed when my fart is like super smelly.
What's wrong with you?
You're like, damn, that came out of me.
Do I? Have you met me? Of course I get that way. I'm like, get a whiff of this, Chris. This is awful.
Keegan's literally dying right now.
God. This is her balloon.
I hate this so much. Listen. I know it's human and everything, but like just keep it away from me. That's all. Like God, at least he excused himself to the bathroom. Like, okay. Anyway. All right. This is from Reddit. So it says, to start, he was nearly 30 minutes late to the restaurant. Blamed traffic for being so late, even though we don't live in a city.
Wow. Were there cows in the road?
Right. He was a little drunk when he turned up, but I can understand if he was a little nervous beforehand. Although you're drunk, you just drove here.
Wait, what?
Anyway.
Yeah.
I ordered a meal and he ordered 3 beers for himself.
Whoa. That feels like a lot.
After he downed
a happy hour ending?
Right. Yeah. Like, gotta get it in. Gotta get it on that check.
Going on 3.
But also, like, that's just awkward. Like, someone else is eating and you're like, I'll have 3 beers, please. You know?
Yeah.
After he downed a few, he then proceeded to tell me I was a 7 out of 10.
Okay, sir.
And
wow.
Bold. And could get to a 10 should I get plastic surgery so I can be a model. I told him repeatedly that I was happy with the way that I looked, and he kept going on and on about all the procedures I should get done.
Sir.
Yuck.
After I'd finished eating, I said I'm going to pay for my meal and then head home. He wanted to go to the bar and convinced me to go with him. Listen, it's hard to say no. I get it. Like, it's hard to say no sometimes. I ordered a drink and then turned around to see him leaning over a couple young ladies who looked pretty uncomfortable. So I put my drink down and left. I sent him a text the next day saying it isn't going to work and blocked him. 1 week later, I get a call from an unknown number and it's his mom.
Oh my God.
She tells me about how he came to visit her and told her all about me and how happy she is that her boy has finally found someone, then invites me to dinner, which I turned down.
What absolute fuck kind of play is that?
He gave his mom her phone number. What? How did you think that was going to work? Like,
I know. That's that whole, like, what was your intention with that?
What was your intention?
I
honestly
wish Dylan would come to me and be like, hey, Mom, will you call this girl for me? Excuse me?
No.
What? Could you imagine?
It's
I
so
really
bizarre.
Can't think what his end game play would be.
Oh, you have a mom?
That's
like, what do you think? Oh, your mom sounds sweet.
You left me on the date. You blocked me and said you weren't interested in me. So I'm going to get my mom to call.
And I spent the entire date telling you what plastic surgery procedures you should get done.
This is a level of entitlement that can only go with the type of person. I just, like who his mom is probably like his whole life. Like, you got an F in this class and she's like,
I'll take care of it for you.
She blames the teacher. She calls the school. Yeah. She's like, actually my son did it. Like that is the kind of entitlement from a real baby on board type of scenario.
Yeah. Yeah. Oof.
I have chills. That's awful. Oh God. Oh, I'm now at the place where I'm like, because my son's like older, I now put myself in the situation on the other side where I'm like, I can't imagine somebody's mom calling me at all. Like, that's just so fucking weird. But now I'm like, I can't fucking imagine my fucking son coming to me and asking me to call a girl for him. I'd be like, Are you 5? Get the fuck out of my face right now with
But
that dumb shit.
I kind of pictured it more of like he was just going on and on about how wonderful his girlfriend is and how serious they are. And so maybe she was like, oh, I'd love to speak to this young lady. And he gave her her
also,
number.
I don't
but
like
it's
that.
very fucked up and
no.
scary.
No, if I haven't met you, if Dylan wanted a girlfriend or whomever he was talking to come over to our house for a meal, he would invite
Exactly.
them.
Yeah.
I don't want to apply that he would only date females, by the way. So
yeah.
I want to make that clear. But yeah, that would be his choice to do that. Like he would never come to me like, can you invite them over?
It would be so weird. It would be so
No,
weird.
Invite them yourself.
I don't know her.
Weirdo.
Yeah.
All right. So my story came to us through our listeners as well. And this is a fun little journey. Hi, ladies. I know I have said this before, but I absolutely love your podcast. I recently transitioned to a new job with a longer commute, but don't mind because I get to spend a total of 1.5 hours on the road every day, which is approximately the length of an episode.
There you go. Nice.
I love it. Listening to you retell my story a couple weeks ago, which you did an amazing job at. And by the way, I read it. So I know this person. I noticed after the fact, I was like, oh, who read it? And I was like, oh, it was me. Actually unlocked a few memories of other bad dates that I had completely forgotten about. I hope you enjoy this one because my friends sure have. About 8 years ago, in my mid-20s. Oh, by the way, just to tell you which story it was the girl, the cheeseburger college story.
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Just to put a little perspective because we're going to take place in Canada. About 8 years ago, in my mid-20s, most of my friends were in serious relationships and many other friends were having fun on Tinder. So I decided to get in on the action. I was curious to see what all the hype was about. I was single, had just started a new job, and was living in my first place by myself in downtown Toronto.
Getting it.
I know, right?
Living the dream.
City life. One night, I began swiping a couple right, a lot left. I was getting a decent number of matches and was excited and a good ego boost. I was chatting with this one guy who was super cute, dark hair, a little bit of facial hair. His profile said he was 5'9" and I'm 5'7", so it worked for me. Tinder guy, let's call him Dan, and I had agreed to meet at a local Irish pub on a Tuesday night after work for a couple of happy hour drinks. Side note, I always meet for drinks for the first date and never dinner. That way, if the date sucks, I can bail after one drink. And if a date is going well, then we can stay around, share some apps. Tuesday rolls around. I walk into the pub 5 minutes early and he's already there at the table. Always a plus when they're early. Now, the pub is not super busy, but it's a Tuesday. I'd say it was about 40% capacity. A little under half the tables were filled. The background music was also pretty low, which was good for conversation, or so I thought. He stood up to greet me, and sure enough, he was a few inches shorter than me.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah.
I was like, that's for sure.
Yeah.
He is definitely not 5'9".
No, 5'9" is just code for anything under 5'7", pretty much. Like a standard, I am not 5'7".
Yep.
Yeah. A bit of a red flag because he'd blatantly lied on his profile, but whatever. I sat down and just put it out of my mind. Surfer came over to take our order. I ordered a bottle of Bud Light, and no joke, he asked the waitress, do you have any French wine?
What?
I only see...
You're at an Irish pub.
Wait, I only see red and white on the menu. Confused, she said, we have a house white and a house red. Keep in mind, we are at an Irish pub and not a wine bar.
What?
They have over 35 draft beers, but only 2 selections for wine because we are at a pub.
Right.
Again, he asks, I only drink French wine.
Okay, then I guess you're not drinking wine tonight. I don't know what to tell you.
I don't drink red or white.
What?
Again, I am confused.
Oh my God. I'm so triggered by this as a former server. I swear to God, I'm just like literally like my eyes are dying inside because I'm like,
You're trying to figure out a polite way to like
tell him to have a Guinness and shut the fuck up. Yeah.
Again, I am confused after about 10 minutes of our server trying to decipher what he was asking for, which was a rosé wine, by the way.
Oh my.
No.
He finally settled on a cider.
She's like, well, I can mix a little bit of red wine and a little bit of white wine in the back.
And she should
that
have.
makes
And
it
bring-
pink.
And she should have.
It's our house rose.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Yeah.
French wine, sir.
Yes, I did find a French back there.
Here you go.
What the fuck? Oh, God. Some server, please do
no,
this.
it's happened before. Let me tell you. You know the ginger ale trick, right?
What?
Just Coke and Sprite. And be
Oh,
like-
yeah.
And people, and it tastes
Real
nothing
similar.
like
Oh, no.
ginger ale. No, there's no ginger in Coke or Sprite, but it's the same color if you get good enough at it, and you're just
There you
ginger
go.
ale. There you go. When people are like, I don't believe you don't have ginger ale. Like, okay, yeah. We do have it. Here
would
you go.
I lie to you? Like,
I know.
The one time I worked in a restaurant, the people, the audacity that people would have. I'm like, you think I want to be sitting here talking to you about this? You think I have Coke in the back? I told you we only have Pepsi. Why would I lie to you about this?
Oh, my God. I know. Why? Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Yes, the motivation to lie about something so ridiculous. She brings back our drinks. We were trying to have conversation, only I couldn't hear a word he was saying because he was mumbling. I asked him multiple times to speak up and still couldn't hear anything.
That's a huge pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
Same.
Oh no, I went on a date with someone.
A
like
mumbler?
that. Yeah. You're like, what? And then eventually you just stop asking because you're like, I'm being so annoying. I'm literally asking him to repeat everything. So you just like nod and
Yes. I've also been in situations like that. So fucking annoying. After one drink, I decided to call it quits. He offered me a ride home and I agreed because I don't feel like taking an Uber. We had both only had one drink, so he was fine to drive. Now that we were in his car, I could finally hear him. He proceeded to ask me about my experiences on Tinder, and I told him I was still new to it. I then asked him, and he said that he had been over 30 Tinder dates, and he never gotten a second date. Then proceeded to tell me that he was on a Tinder date the day before where he and the girl went rock climbing and he dropped her.
What? Wait. What? How?
Cool, bro. Sure. I don't think you should tell anybody about that. Oh,
is she
Lord.
okay?
Also, listen, like we know, like on Tinder, like you're going on other Tinder dates.
Of course.
Like that just is the way it is. It's just like, I don't know, not really.
You don't need to have
You don't need to talk
in-depth
about it.
discussions
Yeah,
about how
especially-
many you've been on.
And how recently you came from your last one.
Right?
You know?
Exactly.
And that you
Keep the
dropped a
illusion
woman.
alive a little bit. And that you dropped somebody. He goes, I secretly hope she writes in to tell you about it. Me too.
Me too.
We started talking about figure skating. I was a skater back in my teen years and was still doing it recreationally. Finally, it came time to drop me off and he tried to kiss me and I quickly turned and he got my cheek.
Dodge.
He then asked me out for a second date and I just pretended like I didn't hear him.
What? Huh? Well, you've been doing it all night. You haven't heard a thing he said. So.
Door shuts. As soon as I get inside, I texted him saying, I don't think there is any chemistry here, so a second date is not necessary. He then responded, so you just assume you're going to get a second date? That's the problem with you pretty girls. You always assume that every guy wants you and that we will buy you anything you want. You should feel lucky and privileged that I paid for the whole tab last night.
Of one
Wow.
drink.
Congrats, buddy. You paid a whole $8 for 2 happy hour drinks. Bravo. I, of course, don't respond. Then 10 minutes later, he texts me. Also, just to let you know, you're a horrible kisser. I again don't
You're
respond.
Okay.
Then another message comes through. Why don't you go practice kissing on snowmen since you like ice so much?
What?
I again don't respond.
Are you 11 years old?
Then another message comes through. Maybe you should spend less time skating and more time kissing.
Stop, sir.
This is so
Please.
embarrassing for you.
I am so cringe at this. Honestly.
Maybe you should go practice kissing on snowmen.
The ice puns, I'm like dying
Awful.
Stop
right now.
it.
Stop, please.
it.
It's-
Oh, no.
More messages came through, but they eventually died down. Needless to say, my first Tinder date was off to a hilarious start. The second one wasn't much better because that guy peed on my kitchen floor
Wait.
when I tried to kick him out of my apartment. But that's a story for a later day. Thanks again for all the laughs and lessons through those podcasts.
Did he do it on purpose? Like, she's like, you need to leave. And he's like, well, I'm going to piss on your floor then.
Piss on your floor then. Oh my God.
It has made my drive to and from work extremely enjoyable. Even my husband has now become a fan.
Oh,
awesome.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Wow.
Maybe you should practice kissing on a snowman.
Like, maybe that guy is actually in middle school. I think it would actually answer a lot of questions.
Like a big Tom Hanks big situation.
He's like, French wine, like he's like something he saw in a movie one time.
Yes.
He is.
I think we figured it out.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
There we go.
It was big
Yeah,
the whole time.
It was Tom Hanks. Okay. So I have got a tainted love for you.
Oh man.
So this one has multiple wedding situations. We've got family drama, but mostly I want to start off and ask you guys to think about a situation that you've been in where like maybe you have a really good cohesive work group or a friend group. And then all of a sudden one person moves in, like one new person gets hired, and all of a sudden drama starts around them.
Yeah, I know
Yeah, we've all been there.
You know that person? Okay.
Great.
I'm going to tell you about Mary Linda Patricia Van.
Okay, that's too many fucking names right off the bat.
It's
What? No.
It's too many names that don't even go together.
Oh,
like,
and there's more names to come.
Oh,
that's just the first name. Mary Linda Patricia Van was born in 1937 in Wilmington, North Carolina. She was born to her mother, who is Marguerite, who was 15 at the time.
It's not like Marguerite, Melissa,
I'm
Genevieve.
It might be, but all I have is Marguerite.
Okay.
So, first of all, also, I got these sources from Murderpedia. and Rule wrote a book called Everything She Ever Wanted, and there's a TV movie starring Gina Gershon.
Stop it right now.
I did not watch the Gina Gershon movie.
I love Gina Gershon,
I'm like, you can definitely find it and check it out. It is available in tons of different places. I kind of want to watch it now, but yeah, mostly Murderpedia, and there's not a great article about it. I did listen to a podcast episode by True Crime Brewery about her as well. So she had a young mother, a very young mother, and her mother was one of 10 children, and like her grandmother just adored this baby. When she was born, she was a beautiful baby. In fact, like everybody, like aunts doted over her. She was so beautiful. Just a pretty child, blonde hair, curls, bright green eyes, and she was described as precocious.
Okay.
I love that.
But behind that facade, she was actually like a bully. Her younger brother, Kent, would constantly, but she was like one of those people that would pinch and then be like, you pinched me, and like get him in trouble. Like one of
the worst.
Yeah.
That's not precocious. That's not the word.
Yeah. Psychopath is the one I'm thinking.
I think I know this person.
All indulgences were fulfilled by her grandparents and her parents. She got
No way that could backfire.
Bought her every single thing she wanted. She was like obsessed with dolls. She literally, like anything she wanted, she had. Now, her mom had remarried, and her stepfather was Colonel Clifford Radcliffe. So he was like a colonel. And
Clifford Radcliffe.
Yeah.
Amazing.
The
names in the story.
The names
Incredible.
are amazing. So she marries Clifford Radcliffe in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And so her childhood, she's throwing temper tantrums, getting whatever she wants, and she's learning very quickly, like if the temper tantrum doesn't work, then she can always manipulate her way or manipulate people to do what she wants them to do. So she's kind of getting tired of the whole school thing. So at 15, she decides to drop out, and she also gets pregnant, just like her mother and her grandmother before that, actually.
Whoa.
So
Wow.
just generations of young mothers.
You got some generational curses to break, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, it is the 50s, but still like
15's very
and
young.
Pregnant is Ugh, yikes.
It's not the way you want to do it, I don't
Not
think.
the way, yeah, exactly. And she ends up marrying Sergeant Gilbert Jr. Taylor in Atlanta, Georgia. And, run right after another. She has her first daughter, Susan, her second daughter, Debbie, and her son, Ronnie. So she's got 3 kids before she is 21.
Hey. Wow.
Very close together. And she's married to somebody who's in the army.
He's gone all the
constantly
time.
deployed. And she's a child raising children. So
how is she getting pregnant so often if he's gone all the time?
well,
Every time he's home.
every time he's home, there's another baby. So she ends up just like, Mom, I can't do this. Mom, I can't do this. So her parents move to her to help her out. And then they also have her move back in. But pretty much she's not following her husband on deployments, but mostly no, I'm going to stay here and let my mom raise these kids.
Yeah,
because this shit is hard. And so it doesn't take long. Well, actually, they end up being together for a while. Long enough for the kids to be grown, but they're pretty much estranged because he's off on deployment and she's still living basically with her parents. Finally, Susan is getting ready to get married to her suitor. She's 18. She's going to get married.
Oh, hey, but
This
no
is the
kids?
first, yeah.
Amazing.
Curse
Good
broken.
for her.
Oldest daughter. She's having her wedding ceremony. Very important day. You're hoping that you only have to do this once.
Oh, no.
Reception starts. Mom.
Say your whole name.
Clink, clink, clink. I have an announcement to make.
No, you do not, ma'am. No, you don't. No, you don't. Get her out of here.
Fucking imagine this.
No.
She stands up and makes an announcement.
No.
I'm divorcing Gil and I'm getting a restraining order against
Whoa.
him. In the middle of her fucking daughter's wedding.
Sounds like someone who needs attention.
Yes.
Here's
she
that attention you're
always
looking for.
Needed the attention.
Wow. Oh,
Can you imagine?
and because that her daughter knew her mom. And she knew the second her mom stood up. She was probably a cold chill went right down Susan's spine. She was like, oh, no, Mom,
no, not my special day. So
turn that mic off. Turn it off.
Pat, she went by Pat out of all of those names. Pat is what she went through. The Mary. So she goes by Pat.
Mary, what is it again?
Mary Linda Patricia Van.
Wow.
So
it's too many.
Pat is what she goes by.
Okay.
Pat is also described as somebody whose dream in life was to be a Southern.
But the way you say
belle.
Pat, it's very Pat.
So yeah, she's Pat, and she wanted to be a Southern belle.
Nothing screams Southern belle like Pat.
I know this story.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Probably. It's
Gina Gershon made a movie about it. Come on.
Yeah. But yeah, Pat wanted to be a Southern belle so badly. She wanted to have a horse farm. She actually was her parents were pretty well off, so she had been raised being that genteel Southern lady. She used to get the vapors. She would have fainting spells. Nobody seemed to put it together that it was when people were questioning her about things that she would be and faint back. And she was she was smaller and kind of small boned and stuff like that. So she played that very genteel Southern
baby
lady.
bird.
But she was also a little bit of a she dressed provocatively. She had several suitors and that sort of thing. So she also had a little bit of a reputation.
Ugh.
So
the reputation.
Yeah. She's finally divorced, and this is she's still young. She's 30.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean?
So
She's
wild,
got
right?
3 kids, and they're mostly grown at this
You're
point.
30 and your daughter's married.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well.
Oh, okay. So she ends up making an acquaintance with Tom Allanson, who is a furrier at that time. He's working with a lot of horses, and his dad is a very wealthy attorney.
I feel like I know this story too.
You might. Yeah. We haven't done it. I did check.
Okay. Because that's what I was have we done this? I was trying to find her picture real quick because I was have we done this one before?
Yeah.
But no, I think it's just I've seen an ID or a killer women or something.
Something like this. Yeah. So like Pat is like, oh, this young, handsome, because she's 6 years older than him. So this strapping young country boy.
Yeah, with money.
With money is like, she's like, okay. And at the time, I guess she was hooking up with one of the Jimmy Carter's cabinet people or whatever.
Oh, shit. Right.
She like,
damn girl,
dumps him, and Tom is head over heels in love with Pat.
Oh, wow.
He's just like, he's big and strapping and handsome, and she's like, you know, like small, like, oh,
baby
I got
bird.
the vapors. I'm the baby bird.
Needs to be protected.
Needs to be protected. Like, help me. I'm so sickly and frail. And so he
sorry.
falls for it. Hook, line, and sinker. And he's like, the problem at this point is that he's married to someone and has kids with a woman named Carolyn, who is called Little Carolyn because
he's got a type.
He does.
Because his mother's name is Carolyn.
Oh.
And she's called Big Carolyn. So
Also, I don't want to be Big Carolyn. I don't care if I am older. Like,
No.
stop it.
call me, I'm Carolyn 1. And that's Carolyn 2.
OG
Fine.
Carolyn.
I know.
Right.
Original Carolyn.
Right.
But yeah, so his parents are like, this would be, if he got divorced, it would be Tom's second divorce already.
Oh, wait. Is he like
He's
24?
in his 20s.
Oh,
yeah. So he's like, and they're like, no. And his father is extremely conservative. In fact, what Pat didn't know is that Tom had an extremely volatile relationship with his mom and dad. His dad was like very overbearing, very conservative, very disappointed in his son because Walter is a very successful lawyer, has real estate holdings, is very wealthy, and Tom is just not the son that he's never good enough for his father. Wow. And so like
We really did some generational damage. We went literally from the you're not good enough generation to the you're so good you can literally be anything.
I know. Like, but the thing is, Tom actually had a really close relationship with his grandfather. So Walter's father, they were called Pa and Nona. Pa and Nona,
that's cute.
Like gave Tom the love and support, and they were also pretty rich too. But they were like, we support you. If this is what makes you happy, we will help you pursue this. And Pat's like, if you want to marry me, like, I want a plantation.
Of
you need
course.
to find me a plantation.
Of course, Pat wants a plantation.
I want a plantation named Tara.
Oh
Okay.
my God.
Sea's gone with the wind once.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
She's like, I did forget my muff at home. May I put my hands in your pocket?
Exactly.
Oh God.
And so they're like, all right, we will help you. Pa and Nona help him buy, like, with the down payment for a 52-acre horse farm that they officially call Kentwood Morgan Horses, but to themselves they call it that's their Tara.
Okay.
That's their place. And as soon as they move in together before the divorce is finalized, Walter and Big Carolyn are furious.
Yeah.
They're
They're
not
fit to be tied.
They're not okay with it. Like, you have children, marriages for life. We already let you do this once.
We let you do this
once.
And
Ouch.
so they're like, they refuse to accept Pat, like, at all.
And
She
Pat's
does
like, I
not
got 52
exist.
acres between me and you, and I
Yeah.
don't give a fuck.
Yeah, Pat does not care.
No, but Pat does because
Oh,
that's
because she has
money.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But he's got his own money, right?
Tom does not have his own money. Tom is like, he shoes horses.
Oh, honey.
And he just mortgaged a 52-acre
Oh,
Honey.
oh.
His parents have money and his grandparents have money, but Tom's like, he's doing well enough to support a modest living, but not the kind
Not a
of living
52-acre living.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess you're going to have to rent that land off to horse owners or something.
Something. But and also Pat is very frail and sickly, so she can't work.
Oh my God. I hate
She
this
doesn't
person.
work. She has fainting spells, so
She's a delicate flower.
sometimes she can do horseback riding lessons, but that's about it. That's all. That's all.
I feel
Pat
like if
can
you have fainting
handle.
spells, being on the back of a horse is probably
Not
not
it.
Also,
Like,
right?
yeah.
That ain't
not it, man.
Yeah.
No, but she likes that, so it's different.
So they're like, okay, we've got our perfect place. The day that his divorce is finalized, the next day is a big horse show. And Pat makes Tom dress up as Rhett Butler.
No, stop it.
And she puts on her best Scarlett O'Hara costume. Like hoop skirt and everything.
Curtain
she has
rod,
her bridesmaids in hoop skirts, white gloves, everything, and they interrupt the horse show with their wedding.
No.
Gone
Gone with their wind themed wedding.
Like everybody is just like, I'm just here to see the horses. Like I am not interested in this.
I sign up for this.
I swear to God, there better be goddamn pictures of this, or
there is. It was in the paper.
Woo! Of course it was. People were like, "Are you fucking?"
There's also like they clipped that they put Gina Gershon in that shit.
You know what?
I did see pictures, stills of the movie of Gina Gershon doing this part.
Have to say, I hate this woman, but this is some main character energy.
Yeah,
like. Wow.
Absolutely. She's like, I am the protagonist in this
I am the star of the show. Like, completely. And you're like, yeah, I think you are, actually.
You might be.
You might.
We are in your simulation. You're right.
Yeah.
Wait. So she gets her perfect wedding. They get to move in and stuff, but Pat cannot let go the fact that Walter and Big Carolyn won't accept her. Like, it offends her Southern sensibilities that they are not going to meet with her. They're not going to acknowledge her.
Must drive
They're not going to
a narcissist crazy.
Yes.
That they can't manipulate someone into liking them. Because I'm sure she's been doing it her whole life.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oof. And she cannot, she's constantly egging Tom this is not the Southern way. Like, any real man would stand up to his father, all this kind of stuff.
I don't know if she knows the Southern way. I mean, I'm from the North, and I know that ain't the Southern way to stand up against your father.
Yeah.
I don't think that's it.
So she's continuing to egg him on and further cause drama. But at the same time, when Tom tries to talk to his dad about it, his dad is incredibly demeaning. His dad is somewhat of a bully, and not somewhat, he is calls her basically every slut shamey terrible thing in the book, which enrages Tom. But he's like, I will never accept her. That woman will spread her legs to anybody with a horse trailer.
Whoa
is one of his quotes.
Damn.
Aggro.
Yeah, he's like, that's not part of my family, and literally starts to make plans to cut Tom out of the well.
Dang.
You done. So Pat is not having this, and I'm telling you, the time between everything that happens, I want you guys to keep this in mind. From their Scarlett and Rhett themed wedding to the end where we're coming is less than 8 weeks.
Holy shit.
2 months.
Less than 2 months. A little bit less than 2 months. So
I literally need to see these pictures right now.
Drama starts happening. Walter and Carolyn call the police because there's guns missing from their home. Pat files a police report saying that all of a sudden, Walter came up to their farm, got out of the car, and exposed himself to her. All these things going back and forth. Walter and Carolyn are driving down the road out of their house one day, and then someone starts shooting at the car at them. And so Walter is convinced that Tom is trying to kill him. Tom is convinced that Walter is trying to kill him. Each one is getting threatening phone calls in the middle of the night with just breathing. And so they're convinced. The family rift is deep. So one afternoon, Tom drives Pat to the doctor's office, and then he's like, I'm going to go talk to my mother. My mother's by herself right now. I know my dad's not home. I'm going to try to fix this rift. And so he goes over to the house, and he notices that they're not home, so he hides in the basement.
I'm sorry. That's not how you do it.
In quote.
That's not how you do it.
Meanwhile, Walter
That's not how you wait for people.
A phone call from an unknown woman saying, Tom's in your house right now planning to ambush you. And so Walter goes home and is like, gets Carolyn, gets guns, and then there's just OK Corral in the basement. Shots fired.
Stop.
Everybody's shooting guns. Bing, bing, bam, 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 bam. The end of the day,
Dust settles.
Neighbors call cops. Like, what the absolute fuck is going on? There's fucking
a war next door.
A war. They go, Big Carolyn is dead on the basement steps and has like a gunshot wound to the chest, and Walter's been shot like 20 times.
Holy shit.
My God.
So 2
Feels
dead
like
bodies.
a lot.
It does not take them long to pick Tom up, and Pat is like purposely doing these like weird alibis or whatever so that he gets arrested like immediately, and they're like, you fucking did this.
Yeah.
And he tries to like do alibis and they don't match up. Their stories are just like all over the place.
He tries to do alibis.
Yeah.
Tries to do, and it just doesn't work, and he gets convicted to life in prison. So Pat visits him in prison and is like, we need to do a suicide pact because I can't be apart from you. I can't, not even for a minute.
Okay.
So, like, I brought you poison. You take the poison, and then I'll go outside now. I'll take it too.
I'll take mine outside.
I'll take mine outside. Where you
Okay.
can't see. Oh, okay. And he thinks about it. He really does, but he ultimately decides not to go through with it. There's a lot of people that are pretty sure that she fully expected none of them to live through that gunfight.
100%.
Really disappointed that Tom actually like,
shucks.
God. So he doesn't die. He doesn't kill himself in prison. So then she's like, well, I've got this 52-acre Terra. I got no money coming in because I don't work. Dude face is in prison. So the next best thing I can do is burn it down for the insurance.
Oh, okay.
Which she does. And then she moves in with Pa and Nona.
No.
The grandparents.
No.
Pa,
Not Pa and Nona.
Pa and Nona are getting up there in age.
Babies.
You know, Nona's had a stroke and is not doing so well. Pa is really heartbroken because the love of his life is not doing well, and also his son was dead.
His grandson's in prison.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
It's a lot to handle. And here comes Pat, who is actually like the only person that's like come forward and is like going to take care of them. I'm going to help them out around the house.
I feel like this is going to help them quickly go into their graves.
So they quit. They accept her. It doesn't take them long for them to change the will and leave everything.
Stop it.
To her, and they get sicker and sicker and sicker. Meanwhile, Walter had a sister named Jean who was like, this is all so sus.
Yeah.
I don't like any of this. I've heard all the rumors. I can piece together, like, I'm not okay with this. They're finally able to, like, she's finally able to convince doctors to test her parents, and they had arsenic. Now, luckily, neither one of them died.
Pa and Nona were going to leave everything
to Pat.
Even when they had another daughter.
They cut their own daughter out of the will.
You know, Jean was pissed.
She's like, no.
She's like, no,
not on watch.
I'm not okay with this. So she does get arrested then for attempted murder.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, you get 2 10-year sentences to be served
consecutive. Yeah.
Yeah. But she's out after 8 years.
Wow.
Why?
What? Why?
Well, nobody died.
Nobody died. But did they die?
But did they die, though?
Did they die?
Wow.
So she's out after 8 years. And so then she and her middle daughter, Debbie, decide that the best way to make a living is, she's like, I actually really liked taking care of elderly people.
Oh, no.
So
I actually found my passion while I was poisoning those 2 old people.
Exactly. You know, find your passion. You never work a day in your life. And so let's say that we're licensed nurses and find another elderly couple, which they do. It's the Christs, and Jimmy Christ dies like almost immediately in their care. They think that they didn't even bother with poison. They just neglected him.
Oh,
which is
baby,
fucking
that's
awful.
Horrible.
Awful.
I cannot. Yeah, it's just awful. And then his wife begins to get sick, but in a play that I think has to come back from like ruining her wedding, Susan actually like helps the police, is like calls like 911. She's like, yeah, you know, my fucking piece of shit psychopath mom is like stealing shit and poisoning like old people. She ain't a nurse. So Susan actually helps the police track them down and like stop them before they murder anybody else. She goes back to jail for another 8 years. Meanwhile,
feels like it's not enough.
Feels like it's not enough, especially like this is your second time. This is strike number 2.
She's still a young lady.
Yeah.
You know, she's 45 when she did that crime, when she got arrested again. So still, you know, prime time can still do a lot of harm. So she goes to jail again. She finally like gets out and decides to move back to Georgia, moves in with her stepfather, the colonel. And she decides to open a doll shop called Pat's Pretty Playthings.
Is there anything creepier? No.
Swear to you.
Stop it.
I need you to stop and shut your mouth right now.
Absolutely not.
Pat's Pretty Playthings?
No.
Pat's Pretty Playthings. Where she was living under the radar until about 2008 when they arrested her for pill shopping. And they actually busted her. She had gotten over 3,700 pill prescriptions in 1 year.
What?
So that's the latest news. It doesn't say that she's been charged or anything. That was back in 2008. But as far as anyone knows, Pat Allanson is still, she goes by Pat Taylor now, is still kicking it in Georgia with a doll shop. Just being a drama psychopath.
Keep your eyes open. And if you have one of Pat's Pretty Playthings, please let us know. Is it haunted? I feel like if you buy
it's haunted.
That's how Annabelle's get made.
That's 100%. I'm like, you cannot buy a porcelain doll from a psychopath and expect everything just to be kosher.
No.
But yeah, that's the story of Pat Allanson, the deadly magnolia.
Wow.
And also,
wow.
She looks exactly how I expected her to.
Wow.
Yeah.
I need to see this. I want to see that goddamn wedding.
Oh my God.
Oh my
God. It took some digging. I did, like I said, found the newspaper article that had their wedding announcement in it. And I was just like, can you imagine just being in the stands at a horse show?
No.
You're like, what's happening?
And also,
what's happening?
how problematic is it to just fetishize antebellum shit?
Very, very. Red flag. Somebody wants to buy a plantation. Red flag.
Found the Gina Gershon version.
Everything she ever wanted.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Wow. That was incredible. Thank you so much for that. I think we've all learned something here today.
It's just like you have to be very careful when you're around a narcissist because she's able from a young age to just manipulate and wrap people around your finger. And it's so hard. Yeah. It's so hard when you find yourself, if that's your mother or if that's your
partner.
If that's your partner, it's difficult to recognize that you're in the trap until you're too late. And like I said, she was so good that she was able to destroy this entire family in less than 8 weeks.
Wow.
That's amazing. Wow.
Well, she saw the cracks to begin with. I mean, obviously there must be cracks if she was able to do it that fast.
Yeah.
But that's another thing about narcissists is that they can tell.
Yep.
Like, you know, they're like, oh,
you're sympathetic
I can
to
get
this.
in. I can get in there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oof. Wow. Good one. Well,
what are you guys watching, reading, consuming this week?
I kind of told you guys last night, but we started watching, we have been watching the Yellow Jackets and we have not finished it yet, but we also kind of were like last night, I didn't have a lot of time between just kind of finishing up some stuff and coming over here for a girls' night. So we started watching After Party, which has Dave Franco in it and has,
Schwartz. His last name is Schwartz. The guy who played.
Oh, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know that. It's the guy from Don't Be Suspicious. Don't Be Suspicious. That guy
from Ben Schwartz.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh. Is that right?
Yeah. It's John Ralphio. Yeah. His name's Ben Schwartz.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh yeah. That guy. Yeah. And then dude from God, I am totally blanking on everything right now.
It's okay, but you're watching After Party.
I'm watching After Party. Alana Grazer is in it. It's good. It's funny and it's good. And yeah, I highly recommend. It's like 30-minute episodes, I think, but it's all told in like, okay, so for example, my favorite movie is action movies, and so the way that I tell the story, somebody gets murdered at the beginning, right? And then everybody's interviewed at the party by Tiffany Haddish. And everybody tells the story in the kind of their mind,
genre,
what they're called, like mind movies. And so they tell these stories in like
so
an
it's like
action
an improv
sequence.
show.
No, it's a fully film and realized written
film,
interesting, like show. But each episode is someone's version of the story.
Oh, so
to find out
like
who
an
killed.
Action movie.
Yes.
Oh,
Like
I see.
Right.
I see. Oh, that's
good.
interesting.
Ike Barinholtz is the name I was trying to think of. And his is like the action sequence. And he's like, driving his car really fast. So it's funny. And like one's kind of like a rom-com, like the way that it is interesting. And so like the whole point is it kind of reminds me of the murder show that I watched on Netflix.
Only Murders in the Building.
With like,
on Hulu.
Yeah. So it kind of reminds me of that a little bit genre like where it's kind of light,
campy, a little bit
looking for the murderer. And Tiffany Haddish is hilarious. So.
Oh, always.
I love her.
Yeah.
I want to see Murderville.
That looks good.
That looks so
That was
good.
really good.
I'm really,
which that is improv, right?
Yeah.
Like that's improv. Yeah.
I'm excited for that. Keegan and Cassie wrote me into book club, so my greatest consumption this week of any kind of media was the book Circe by Madeline Miller. Really, really enjoy. If you love Greek mythology reimagined, if you're a fan of Wicked, like a retelling of looking at a myth in a different way, it was affecting. It was written very well. It was amazing. It was the best book I've read since I was like a teenager. I haven't been that roped into a book in a long time, so I can't recommend that enough.
I love it.
I'm definitely going to read Song of Achilles, who's also written by Madeline Miller. It's on my list. I've been reading a lot. I've been kind of like speed reading lately. I read like 3 books since we recorded last time. And I read Never Let Me Go, which had been on my list for like a really long time. And it was so like, it was just one of those books that like stayed with me afterwards. It's kind of like a slow burn book, but it lingers.
Yeah.
Like it has this like sadness that just kind of like lingers, which is, I love that about a book, like a book that you just can't like stop thinking about,
Yeah.
Quit you.
Yeah. And so I also watched the movie after I read the book. I watched the movie with Keira Knightley and Carey Mulligan and Andrew Garfield. And the book is much better. It's just, it's hard to get all of those like intricacies into a film format. But I still really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was beautiful. So yeah.
I did watch the first episode of The Gilded Age.
Oh, me too.
Oh, I want to see it.
Me too.
Okay.
Oh,
is it good? I can't wait.
I'm
the
gonna
the costumes are very pretty. I think it was it didn't grab me immediately the way Downton Abbey did, but I'm definitely there's the potential there.
Okay. I'm in. I think it's like it looks so good, and I love that it's in New York. You know, the only thing, and I will say this, that took me out of it is that I can see the zippers on some of their dresses, and I'm like,
nope,
I'm pretty sure you wouldn't have had zippers on that costume
that time, and also the difficulty for me after I read it, I was like, so it's rich people against other rich people.
But there is going to be a class element, you can tell, because you have the I mean, there should be more, of course, but there's one Black character who is a writer, and like she's struggling to like come up, which I think is very interesting. Like they didn't make her part of like even though she sleeps downstairs, they didn't really make her one of the servants. Like she is actually like aspiring to be a writer, and you can tell there's going to end up being some like class friction because her friend is a wealthy white woman, and like there's going to be some class friction there that I'm interested in seeing.
I'm literally going to Google right now when the zipper was made, because that is definitely would
it's not accurate. Yeah, am certain.
When does this take place?
It takes place before the events of Downton Abbey. So Gilded Age, it ended in like the early 1900s, and I think it started in the late 1870s.
Oh yeah, 1913 is what you're looking at for the zipper.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. It didn't say any kind of year in the episode, but
it's like Roosevelt is a contemporary. The Vanderbilts are like present but old news. So it's like,
Yeah. And I'm sorry, even just imagine too, and the initial, as soon as the zipper is invented, doesn't mean that it's mass consumed.
No, it's 100% not.
That would drive me crazy.
Yeah.
You have literally unlocked a trigger for me because I'm already going to go into it. You know how that shit bothers me. Why am I so bothered by dumb little things like that just stick forever?
Because you spent so much money doing everything else kind of correctly. It's like, why would you drop the ball on that? But, I don't know. So if you guys have stuff we should watch or read, if you've got FMKs to tell us, if you want to check out our Patreon or just say hi, and most of all, if you've got those bad date stories, go to our one-stop shop of a website. It's myworstatepodcast.com, and we love you so much. Cheers!
This is a Glass Box Media Podcast.